And people are like, how do you become infinitely intelligent? It has nothing to do with IQ or the mind. Hello everybody, in this video, my contemplative fitness AI is going to show you how to do Vipassana body scanning. This is what you learn in a 10-day Goenka retreat. I'm going to pull up sessions from conversation I have with fellow travelers to demonstrate this technique and some Q&A afterwards. And if you want to know more about the technique, you can DM me or leave a message in the description box. Now, this is one of the most powerful techniques out there, and if done correctly, can certainly lead to awakening. Why? Because it's no bullshit, almost like fitness. Too many people are mentally masturbating to theories and concepts instead of mentally lifting, contemplating on the nature of consciousness or reality. Ultimately will not wake you up. You become it. Once you quote-unquote physically dissolve your entire physical structure from solidity to liquid, to smoke, to air, then you will have what they call quote-unquote God realization. And remember, if you're not lost in absolute 24/7, there is no realization. It's a peak experience. And once God truly realizes itself, it's not a realization anymore, because God doesn't need to realize itself. It is itself. Even though this thing right here transcends mind and matter, existence and non-existence, form and emptiness, on the relative level of the dreamscape, the process of awakening is extremely quote-unquote physical. The only reason why you don't feel like you are the entire universe right here, right now, is because of the solidity of your physical structure. Body scanning is one of the most effective ways to viscerally dissolve every single speck of solidity within your body, mind, and experiential structure, including the lenses of perceptions. He's a proof that this whole process is as concrete as anything biological in nature. Every time I go through a shift in consciousness and I wake up in the morning, and it's like somebody took my meat suit, tossed it away, and replaced with a brand new one.
Just like life, man. Like drinking in the morning. I realize beer in the morning, life is hard.
And when it's said and done, every single quote-unquote particle, which is ultimately empty space, with your entire being from head to toe, is going to be permanently connected to nature. It's like every sensation, micro-expression, and movement that you make is being aligned and pulled by the infinite. So you're like this air puppet with no strings attached. And everything is so full, there's absolutely no room for error. And your moment-to-moment experience becomes like this non-dual alien. The cosmic octopus from the movie Arrival, where every single sensation of the entire world is your tentacles with no center. This movie is very visceral. I like movies that are very visceral, because awakening is very visceral. The natural state is like a hybrid of an AI and an animal, transcending both the humans and the gods. When people ask the Buddha, what are you? Are you a god or a human? He said, neither, I'm awake. And if you look at the technique of body scanning, you're using the laser beam of awareness, very high tech, and dissolving layer by layer the materiality of the body. That's why a lot of people, when they go to Goenka 10-day retreat, all they do is body scanning. Yeah, they have Kundalini awakenings, where their consciousness explodes to the universe without knowing anything about chakras. That's what's happened to me. Or anything mental or spiritual. All the chakras open up. Why? Because chakras are just the physical blockages of conditionings and shadows and subconscious stuff that's all stored in the body. All the traumas are stored in the body. That's why body scanning is so powerful. Now, even though on the ultimate level, form and emptiness are identical, what we call the lenses of perception or self-referential thoughts or the ego is nothing but solidified and congealed sensations and energies. You can extend this technique to other sense stores like sight, sound, feels, thoughts. Eventually, the whole world and even consciousness and awareness can be Vipassanalized, and the observer, the witness, whatever. Towards the end of my path, it feels like I was Vipassanalizing the entire universe until there's just the universe meditating to itself, and the meditator is being completely absorbed into absolute infinity or the void. And you realize that that's just the way it is. So the universe fucks itself until boom, That's going too deep for you, bro. But if you think about it, if your entire reality is made up of sensations, the body is just one object of meditation. The sensation of the body ultimately is no different from the sensations of the clouds, the trees, of the people, sight, sound, thoughts, emotions, right? And eventually all those different sense stores, they merge as one unified field, what I call quote unquote divine sense store of zero that's just perceiving itself. So really good literal representation of the process of awakening is that of a caterpillar transforming into a butterfly. But transformation is not even the right word, because the caterpillar has to completely die, every speck of it, before it becomes a butterfly. That's the only mystical part about the whole thing. But if you think about it, the nature is fucking mystical. And as you physically shred away the solidity of the body, just like you're gonna start seeing abs, you're gonna start seeing perception shifts. A major reduction in suffering. You wanna know if someone's making gains quote unquote spiritually? Don't ask them what they know. Ask them to describe their moment-to-moment experience. For example, if it's not shifting from, my favorite analogy, 720 to 1080 to 4K to 1080 4K to 360 8K, viscerally, they're not making gains. That's just one example. Or watch how they move.
Basically, it's actually extremely simple. Basically, like I said earlier, you're just scanning your entire body, your entire physical structure, from the top of your head to the tip of your toes, without trying to miss a single square root inch. See, there's sensations going on all throughout your body constantly. When your mind is sharp enough to detect those sensations, the body, again, like we said earlier, becomes less solidified, more subtle. And it transforms from solidity to liquid to smoke to air, right? Just by putting awareness on solidity of the body long enough, it will start to dissolve. But it's not like the body is actually dissolving, it's just that your mind is now sharp enough to pick up the very subtle sensations. Your body has always been just a cloud of sensations without any locations. It's always like that for everybody. You're just a collection of energies and vibrations and undulating force, right? The reason why you think you have a body that's solidified is because, again, your mind is not sharp enough. You have too many lenses of perception to perceive the emptiness of the body, right? So Vipassana, what Vipassana does when you do body scanning, again, like we said earlier, is to investigate the sensation of the body. So two things that you need to remember when you do body scanning. One is just the technique itself. Just by going, in order from the top of your head to the tip of your toes, without trying to miss a single part. So my order is from starting with the top of the head, and I go down to the forehead, and then I go from left to right. So the circumference of your awareness should be about this big.
Oh, okay.
So at first you start from the top of your head and you go like boom, 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 and then you go to the forehead, go boom, 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 and then you go boom, 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 and then you've completely scanning your face. And then you go down to your neck, boom, 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 boom. You scan your neck, and then you get down to your chest, and you scan your chest from left to right, top to bottom, and then you try to.
So do it like inside.
That's a good question. Good question. Some people scanning from the inside, some people scanning from the outside. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, because awareness has no center. So in other words, every point. There's no points or particles, by the way, it's just metaphors. Every point is the center of the universe. And every point is equally aware and luminous. The sensation of your toes is the same equal footing as the sensation of the clouds. It's not being generated by anything or anywhere. See? Awareness doesn't know a center. There's no inside and outside. You're not imagining the sensations. You're only picking up the raw sensations. So as you go deeper into your experiential structure, and peel away layers and layers of the mind and the body, it's almost like dissecting reality down to the microscopic and quantum level until we reach the smallest unit. Dissecting atom until you reach the empty space at the quantum level, experientially. like doing physics from the inside. Eventually, even Goenka said, you're going to reach a point where you can't divide the quote-unquote atom anymore. That's going beyond even mind and matter. What he means is that you're going to reach a cessation or fruition or nibbana, where you're eventually going to flip yourself inside out and going from absolute nothingness to absolute infinity, which are two sides of the same coin. It's almost impossible to quote-unquote lock in God consciousness without a fruition, because they're two sides of the same coin. The more you can contract, like a rubber band, your consciousness into unconsciousness, the more you can expand to Super Saiyan consciousness. And ultimately, there's going to be a point where there's no more expansion or contraction, as the two merge as one, singular unit. Nirvana is the cessation of movements. And your moment-to-moment experience in a natural state is a permanent cessation and infinite consciousness, neither dead or alive. When all sensations arise and vanish simultaneously, everything's non-arising and non-passing. As long as you feel the sensation, it doesn't matter where you think that awareness is coming from. It doesn't matter where you think you're scanning from, because the vantage point of awareness is just fabrications. But it's okay to fabricate that when you do body scanning, because you're not going to be able to become totally non-localized until like quote-unquote full awakening. So before you have a full-blown awakening, you're still going to, be observing sensations from a vantage point. So, but like I said earlier, it doesn't matter where that vantage point is. You're sort of just using it as an anchor to pick up sensations. But eventually, you're gonna have to Vipassanalize even the vantage point, even the observer. But we can talk about that in the next call. But anyway, back to body scanning. So you go like to your chest, and then down to your abs, upper ab, middle ab, and lower abs, and then to your pelvic. And then you go to the back of your head and you scan your back, your back torso. You did the front side and now you do the back. So you go back to the head and to the back of your head, boom, 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 boom. You do the back of the neck and you do your traps, boom, 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 and then your upper back, and then your erectors, your mid back, your lower back, and then eventually your pelvic area again, like the bottom of your spine, and then your butt. And then you do the arms. Left arm first, shoulder first, and then arms, tricep, bicep, and to the elbows, and then to the forearms, and then to the fingers, all the way to the fingertips. And then you do the right arm, same thing. And then you do the legs, same thing. Do the thigh first, and then you do the hamstring, and then you do the calves and the shins, and then your feet, and then all the way to the tip of your toes. So sometimes you're gonna run into a blind spot. So maybe you placed your awareness on your shoulder and you can't feel the sensation there. That's a blind spot. Like I said before, there is sensation there. You just can't feel it because your awareness is not sharp enough. But if you run into a blind spot when you do body scanning, just wait there for 10 to 15 seconds. And if there's still no sensations that pop up, then just move on to the next portion, next part. Once you feel a sensation, move on to the next part. Don't stay on the sensation for too long, because you want to be able to, because you want to make sure your mind is like moving. You want to make sure your mind is sharp, right? So that's basically body scanning. But again, like I said earlier, you have to investigate the sensations too. You can't just scan it. If you just scan it and just feel the sensation without investigating it, that's just basic mindfulness. That's not Vipassana. Vipassana, again, is what? Seeing clearly and penetrating. So when you do body scanning without investigating, that's just penetrating. You're not seeing clearly for what it is. You're not seeing clearly for what the sensations are. So again, when you do body scanning, always investigate the two elements of no self, impermanent. Oh, my body is always changing. It's always vibrating. Every single sensation is always vibrating. It's impermanent. That's impermanence. And then no self. Oh, where can I find the self in the body? In the midst of this cloud of sensations, where's the self, right? So that's pretty much a really brief rundown of body scanning. Now, there are infinite numbers of ways that you can scan the body, so you don't have to do the order that I just demonstrated. But try to stick with the order you customize for X amount of time before you switch, because it's almost like bodybuilding. You need time for adaptation to take place and progressive overload. But have fun with it and be creative, because it's almost like you're creating a piece of art, like Michelangelo chipping away the marble particle by particle until you reveal the aesthetic void underneath. Another thing to keep in mind while doing body scanning is to stay equanimous no matter what. Sensation are rising and passing, and you just stay equanimous no matter what. Sometimes it can get very violent, sometimes very boring, sometimes very pleasant, sometimes not so pleasant. There's going to be pain, discomfort. As long as you stay equanimous throughout the whole process, then you're not creating more conditionings. You're just letting the conditions burn away. If you experience something pleasant, if you cling on to it, or let's say, oh, my whole body's vibrating, I'm having a mystical experience. As soon as you cling on to that, you're creating more conditionings. Likewise, if you feel discomfort or pain, simply allow it to arise and pass away, and not resist whatever type of sensation arises. That's the whole game. Any sensations that arises, you simply allow them, embrace them. Don't try to change anything. Awakening could be boiled down to just one sentence at the end of the day. Allow everything to be as it is.
How do you relate to thoughts while body scanning?
Okay, good question. When you do body scanning, sometimes thoughts are gonna arise. Sometimes you're gonna be caught in thoughts. Don't push them away. Don't reject thoughts, but don't indulge in them either. So anytime you feel like you're lost in thoughts, simply go back to the part you were scanning. You can just leave thought in the background, sort of like a TV playing in the background, like a radio playing in the background, and just keep going on your body scanning. As long as the body scanning is in the forefront of your awareness during this practice, thoughts are okay. Another thing that to keep in mind when you do body scanning or any kind of meditation is to never try to look at the object of meditation. Say if you're scanning the shoulder or the leg, don't try to look at the body part you're scanning, because even with eyes closed, we're conditioned to like sort of like move the eyes downward. But again, sensations are aware of themselves exactly where they are. You're not beaming awareness from here to the toe. At first when you do body scanning, you are going to feel like you're a meditator in the head, and like somehow you're like a vantage point and try to like beam awareness, like, okay, I'm scanning the arms and then my awareness goes boom, That's okay. That again, that's just an anchor. But eventually you realize that this thing is just a layover. It's just a filter. It's just a filter through conditioning, contraction. Right? That's the ego trying to take credit for the sensation of the shoulder that's already aware of itself. So at the end of the path, you realize that, holy shit, the universe is always meditating to itself. So you dissolve the meditator, the observer, the watcher.
Wow.
So, but before you could do that, there is going to be some kind of solidity in the head, behind the eyes. You are going to feel like you're a meditator doing the scanning. That's okay. But just try to minimize the contraction by really relaxing the eyeballs and really just kind of, and not look at the sensations. Not look at the sensations. And just try to be really aware of the fact that you're not generating awareness from anywhere. There's no point in which A is aware of B. There's no that's duality, subject object. You're a subject meditating and scanning the object, but that duality is what needs to be dissolved for awakening, for non-duality, right? So by just relaxing your eyeballs and not looking at the sensation, you're loosening up that condition of the subject-object duality. Yeah, that's one thing. That's one of the best tips that I give people. People always find that really helpful. And another thing to really keep in mind is to let go of the image of the body. Because the anatomy or the picture of the body, all the body parts that you have in your minds are not there in the direct experience of the body. There's no arms, no legs, no body parts, no head, no toes, as a matter of sensations. So if you can let go of the image of the body that you fabricate, imagine in the mind, and only focus on the raw sensations, you realize that the sensation, raw sensation of the quote-unquote body is in a completely different dimension than the image of the body. For most people, they never experience the body in and of itself. All they know of the body is the image of the body, which is not really the body at all. So from the subjective, direct experience of the body, when you focus on the hands, sometimes the hands, quote-unquote hands, can blow up to be as big as the room, even. Right? The contour of the fingers in your mind, the image of the fingers can never contain the raw sensation, the vibrations, and the clouds of the quote-unquote body as a matter of a subjective experience. See? And another tip is try to, like, I guess you could say, try to shift your identification from the scanner, from the meditator in here, to just the sensation. So if you're scanning the leg and you feel like the leg is vibrating, you feel the sensations, see if you can try to feel it out, feel it viscerally, that the sensation of your leg, that's where you are. You're not here. You're not apart. You're not here scanning the legs. This sensation of leg is where you are. It's where the universe is by itself. It's, you know what I mean? It's like the force. It's like after a while you do body scanning, it almost feels like the vibrations and energy and the force that's going on throughout your body that's doing the scanning. It's not you doing it. It's like the alien force. It's almost like I used this analogy before of like, here's another analogy of the spiritual path. You're being possessed by God or being possessed by the universe, right? So body scanning can get you to a point where you feel like your whole body's been possessed by the universe, but just by the force of nature or by God. And God is doing the scanning instead of you. So if you can shift your identity from just being this little person, little meditator here, to just the sensations, by unhooking your identity, unhooking your awareness from inside the head to to wherever you feel the sensation, that's also a really good way to kind of deconstruct the center point, the knots of perception. Yeah, and eventually, you know, like the God, the universe, possess not just your body but your mind, even the world and everybody.
Wow.
And then you completely disappear. Your whole being, your whole experience being possessed by like an alien force, the formless intelligence. Yeah. And solidity and separation is just that formless intelligence contracting itself. But it's the same thing. It's the same, again, we said in the beginning, it's the same force, it's the same awareness. The length, how long should you body scan, right? So usually from the speed that a very good speed is 30 minutes to do one round. So usually one body scanning session is 1 hour. So you go once down and then once up, or you can do once down and another one also down. That's a really good speed. But if you want to reduce that, that's okay too. If you want to do just 30 minutes or 40 minutes or even 20 minutes, you can scan faster. But by scanning faster, you have to sort of open up the circumference of awareness. So instead of just like, you know, and I said in the beginning, like the circumference, the laser beam of your awareness, instead of being this big, if you do an hour, maybe you could be like this big. Or if you do it 5 minutes, 5 minutes would be like maybe this big. Maybe you cover your entire head at once and your entire torso at once, you know? It all depends. When I used to do body scanning, I used to do pretty slowly. I used to do like 1 hour, just one round, usually. And my circumference of awareness would be like very tiny, it'd be like this big. Sometimes your body opens up and it's just full of vibrations, and you can scan it very quickly throughout the whole body. You can pick up every single sensation throughout your entire body, every single square inch, by only doing it for 15 minutes. So it all depends.
Wow.
It all depends, yeah. So some people like I did sessions where like I scanned my body for like 2 or 3 hours just going one round, and then by that time the laser beam awareness being so sharp, and I could like, you know, penetrate even deeper, more subtle levels. Yeah, but eventually as you get better, you the circumference of your awareness becomes sharper and you go by faster too. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's a very fine point, very laser sharp, but also very fast. That's, you know, that's the ideal, right? But it's not always going to happen like that. Yeah, so when you dissolve the body, when you go layer after layer and just shredding the body, you know, like peeling the body like an onion, you're also peeling the mind. That's when a lot of subconscious stuff come out through body scanning. So it's not like quote unquote body scanning, because there, quote unquote, on the ultimate level, there is no body, right? There's no body parts, it's just sensations. The sensation of the body is no different from the sensation of the clouds, the trees, or the sound of the birds. So by deconstructing and dissolving and vipassanalizing the body, it leads to the release of psychological elements and traumas and separations. The final step is to turn awareness onto itself. Annihilate the meditator. I mean, ultimately, awareness has no size, shapes, and form, so it's infinite. And you're drawing from this pool of infinity as you concentrate on a specific area or the object of meditation. So like circumference, again, you can fabricate it however big you like.
That's just another way of kind of like, I guess, take your identity away from like you to like something else.
Yeah.
So you know how like some tradition they ask you to imagine you're like literally visualize yourself as like a deity or a Buddha. Like that's one way I do it sometimes. You know, like you visualize yourself as this just like this alien force or something like that. I don't know if that worked for you, but
No, it felt common.
I think this is the reason why like the whole notion of God is so huge in spirituality, because if you can sort of like almost feel into the fact that you're not human, then shift your identity to like a God or something, to like, you know, to the divine or to like whatever. It's a good practice, even though ultimately you want to let go even that identification, but as like a middle ground, if you go around the world and just like, oh, this is God, like imagine itself, provided the fact that you don't generate a new ego, but like, oh, I'm God, you know, then it's all fine. See, that's another way to look at infinity. It's like this pure potentiality that's even prior to the body, sight, sound, thoughts, feels, even consciousness and awareness, or, you know, unity or God mind, you know. It's the fill in the blank that manifests that. So, in a sense, this shapeshifter, this formless shapeshifter can take any forms. So when you're scanning the body, it's taking the form of the body. When you're scanning Vipassanalizing thoughts, it's taking the form of the thoughts. And sound is one of the best ways to feel this out, because when you quote unquote you don't hear the sound. The sounds as sensations, as this formless intelligence is hearing itself, is being aware of itself. And when you look onto the world, the formless intelligence is taking form of the visual field. And eventually, you know, every sense door congeal as one singular, what I call the divine sense door of zero. And then whatever you perceive right now, it's what you are. It's like, it's not, you're not this body in here that you're imagining, although that's also part of it because it takes on the form of the person as well. But whatever if you're in the bathroom and you're enclosed in this small space, that's the whole universe in a sense. That's how the whole universe, that is this intelligence is shape shifting itself to right now. And when you expand your consciousness to infinite space and it includes the whole world, which is what I'm doing right now, and that's the way in the next moment, that's the way it is. The formless shapeshifter is. That's your true face in it, so to speak, right? Yeah.
Just a game at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's a different mode of video game, different mode of being.